Since COVID, I haven't been feeling super great, to be honest. I've constantly been in kind of like more fatigue, more stomach pain, just not as great as I usually feel. I got COVID back in the end of January or beginning of January, and since then I can tell there's a difference in how I've been. There's James before COVID and James after COVID. And things really took a turn for me back in February. I started to constantly feel nauseous with what I was eating, but I was like, it's not too bad. And then in March, I started experiencing some pretty bad throat pain, horrible stomach burning constantly. There's more stuff. I don't know if you want all the details, but I haven't, I was starting to feel kind of like, okay, maybe I'm getting sick. I go to Vegas in March, end of February, beginning of March, for one of my closest friends' wedding, which was super fun. And, I didn't eat as much as I planned to eat because my stomach didn't feel super good. It still wasn't as bad. But then I noticed something, and it was a really weird thing. Every time I would eat, it kind of felt like I was choking a little bit. And so I was like, that's kind of weird. It felt like I was having like an allergic reaction, which I have really bad allergies. So I'm actually really good at knowing what I can eat and not eat and what questions to ask when going out to eat. Like, I'm that person. I'm like, is this cooked in peanut oil? Is it this? Is it that? Blah, blah, blah. Apples. What kind of fruit is it? What has it been? I'm that person. And I was like, man, so I would take a Benadryl. I just kept my EpiPen on me because I wasn't sure. And I was like, man, I'm not feeling super great. I started getting a little bit of chest pain and stuff as well. And I was like, man, I don't know. What is this? Maybe it's heartburn or something. I wasn't really sure. I come back home and I'm not feeling still super great. There's just these moments where my stomach is burning more. Every time I eat, my throat just feels inflamed. I'm tired. I'm regurgitating my food. So I go to the doctor and I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. I've lost 10 pounds in a week. That's pretty alarming, I feel like, or a week and a half, because I can't eat. I mean, everything's hurting. Salad I'm eating, all these things I'm eating. And my doctor's like, hey, you probably have acid reflux or GERD, which is, when you get acid reflux more than 3 times a week. I was telling him, like, hey, I cannot swallow anything without my throat being in severe pain. Nothing takes the pain away. Oatmeal hurts. Drinking water hurts. I'm regurgitating too much food. I mean, everything hurts no matter what I eat at this point. I mean, I went from being able to eat things like rice or potatoes at least, because that's how bad it was getting, while I was just eating soft foods, and soup and everything was in pain. So they did this swallow test on me, and they couldn't find anything wrong with my throat, and things were going down my esophagus. But they're like, for a better test, you have to see a stomach doctor. And, I was quite worried because my dad died of pancreatic cancer, and I was having a lot of pain. A lot of things resembled someone with pancreatitis or pancreatic cancer. It could be gallbladder problems. It could be anything. That's the problem with the stomach. And the more they dig, the more things they found. They found sludge in my gallbladder. They found 2 tumors here. They weren't cancerous, they're pretty sure. I never really got like a real direct answer, I feel like. But they said they weren't worried about them. But I had pain where those were. So were those pressing on an organ, or were they blood vessels hurting? And then also my esophagus was in constant pain. And man, dude, it was rough, And then so I started going on a special diet to see if it was helping, but it still wasn't helping yet. And dude, I was going through it. I mean, I was losing weight very quickly, which I needed to lose the weight. So dieting this extreme way, I guess, was a great jumping off point, except I feel tired and fatigued. I didn't really want to do anything. My mental state was fine. I wasn't really it was up and down. I definitely wasn't feeling top notch because I wasn't eating. I was drinking things like Ensure and Pedialyte for vitamins. I constantly had terrible stomach pain that would just take me out. I cannot explain to people how bad it was, because I'll tell people, they say I have GERD, and GERD can get really bad, guys. Look up, if you have GERD, don't look up YouTube stories on GERD. Some people have it mildly, but some people have it so badly because it literally feels like you're having a heart attack at times. It feels like someone is constantly stabbing every organ in your stomach. Your mouth is burning. I mean, it was terrible. I ended up going to the ER that day because it was so painful. And they could not find anything at all. They're like, well, you're not having anything that we're concerned about. You look fine. All your vitals are fine. They're like, here's some antacid, like a strong antacid thing for the GERD. I was like, GERD makes you feel like you're having a heart attack? And, and then it just kept going on. Nothing was working. The medicine wasn't working. The diet wasn't working. And then of all this, I was like, God, where are you? The first time I've experienced extreme suffering, wondering where God is. But for some reason, this time really hit me hard. As someone who's dealt with child abuse, depression, suicidal thoughts, I mean, I had a pretty crazy upbringing. All the bad things almost, of poverty to alcoholism to drugs, throw me in that box. I could not figure out why nothing was working. And I think part of me has probably always been scared that I would die this very young and horrible death, kind of like my father for some reason. And I thought to myself, I probably do have something bad. So I just want to teach you some of the things I learned from God during this time to show you that even in times of trial, where there are still unknowns, and I still don't have very clear answers on some things, even though I'm feeling better, as you could tell, because I've been posting more videos. These are some things that I think will encourage the saints. One of the things I learned is that God really does use people in our lives. During this time, I've had to rely on friends and family more than I ever have. When you feel like you can't drive because you're always dizzy, when you need to be taking a doctor appointment, when you can't eat enough food so people are bringing you things to eat, when you need help so someone just takes your kid for a little bit or helps you clean your house because you're just so tired. When you have constant prayers and words of encouragement being spoken to you, when people just sit and listen, God uses his church. And God just uses people in general. I mean, there's non-Christians in there. But particularly, God uses the saints to encourage other saints. And I really appreciated the kindness of people. You know what's cool about kindness? It makes you want to be more kind. Like every time someone did something to me, I just felt this need to, and just like, wow, I want to be able to be more generous like that. Because, we're not always super generous. And there's some people who are just more generous. I have to say, for the women out there, I hope this doesn't come off as sexist. I think you guys are far more generous and caring than men are. I mean, I appreciate my fellas who've held my back during all this. So many people have my back down. But the women in my life, whether it's my mother or friends, were such a great encouragement for me. And I can't thank all of you enough for your support from my pastor. Just so many people. I won't say their names out here because I know not everyone likes having their stuff thrown out on the internet, but you know who you are. And I just say thank you for your prayers, encouragement, and actual material resources, because it's really easy to just, say something nice, but it's better to constantly check on someone, to actually say, hey, I'm going to give you food, or here's this Ensure, which I will never drink Ensure again. That is big. Man, lies are really powerful, and the truth is more powerful. I really think that fear keeps us in a place where we don't need to go. Romans 8 says that we were not given the spirit of fear. That's for all believers. We have the Holy Spirit indwelled in us. And if that's the case, sometimes we have to use God's power to make us, remind us who we are and what's actually happening. Because here's the thing, I am still not feeling well, and I am still sick. And while I'm much better, the throat pain has decreased. It still comes up and down, but nothing like it was before. Here's the thing though, right? Like, when I wasn't living in a state of where I didn't really know what was going on, or I'm trying to figure out on my own, or the things I'm experiencing where it feels like I'm literally choking on food, left me with anxiety. When you're eating and you feel like, wow, am I breathing or not breathing? Do you know how scary that can be? So, you know what helped me though? Going to the doctor and getting the truth. Seeing the x-ray and the CT scan. There's nothing in your throat. We see you swallowing fine. Your throat's probably inflamed from all the acid, or it could be gas, or it could be, we're not exactly sure, but you are swallowing food at this moment. You have to probably figure out a way to do that. And then from there, that helped me, because then of me maybe oh, I feel like I'm not swallowing, but then my oxygen levels are good, and I'm talking, and I'm listening to the doctor, and the information it gave me to make a better decision, it helped. It doesn't mean there's nothing wrong. It doesn't mean I'm not struggling. It doesn't mean I'm not suffering at that moment. But I don't have to freak out. I'm like, okay, I got the meds I need. I got the things I need. I know what I need to do. So you know what I was doing, guys, for like 3 weeks, almost 4? I was blending up every meal I had. Literally blending up meat and blending up eggs, like just to make it softer like they did in a hospital. My mom gave me that tip because she works in a rehabilitation hospital for people who've, suffered, bad tragic accidents, or not, they're not dead, but bad trauma, so the truth really helped me. And even then, sometimes it can be difficult, because sometimes I still feel that way. And they even gave me this little thing I put on my finger to help me look at my oxygen levels, and they gave me tools and tips. Having that ability to know what's actually happening broke my fear. The truth is powerful. Here's another thing I learned. Guys, when I say guys, I mean ladies, fellas, take care of your bodies. You will hear this thing so many times right now in this moment where Christians would be like, transgender people don't honor their bodies. People will say that. We will say that. Christians will say that. And I look at my own life and I'm like, man, have I honored my body? This is the only body you get in this life, guys. You don't get to replace your body, until the resurrection comes, right? Right now, this is the body. Your body and soul, your mind, they're all one thing. They're not separate. And the doctor's like, maybe you had silent reflux. That's probably why you didn't hear heartburn. But looking at your throat here, you've probably been having acid hit it for years. And I thought about my diet. Well, I might have worked out here and there. My weight has gone up and down and all these different things. I haven't been consistent. And whether or not this is something that's not out of my control, like let's say I do have cancer, because I have to do some more testing for this since it runs in a family, which, they don't think I do, but they still want to do a couple more tests. But I'm actually going to keep this in a video because I want you guys to know how this thought process and all this takes. But during this time, right, I haven't maybe always taken care of my body. And so now years and years and years of just bad habits have made maybe what I'm already maybe genetically predisposed to worse. Take care of your body. God gives us the tools we need, right? This world isn't perfect, but also creation is good. It is sinful and fallen, but there are many good things about it. And today in the world we live in as modern people, especially if you live in the West and you have an abundance of food, even though we having our own economic problems here. If you're an American, for the most part, you have access to, a good chunk of us have access to healthy food that's affordable. And for those who don't, there's a lot of things we, the church and community, can do, right? Since an adult, have not been poor. And I've lived a very comfortable middle-class lifestyle. And I think of last summer when I was barbecuing every day, eating tons of red meat, and I wonder, over all the years of fast food and junk, and just working out and thinking, I'm not having too many calories in, what that was doing over, the last 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 years. I know you probably look at me and thinking, how are you even old enough to look back in the last 15 years? Not because of my eating. I look young because genetics actually, this whole experience, I looked in the mirror recently. I definitely look like I probably aged a couple years because it's been so stressful. But that's what I have for you guys. This is probably going to be one of my longest videos. But I think it's necessary. So tell me, is there something in your life right now that God is teaching you through suffering? Let me know in the comments. I appreciate your continued prayers. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord shine his countenance upon you and be gracious to you.